Ladies and gentlemen, we are going to begin. If I can ask you to take your seats, please. Turn off your cell phones to avoid any interruptions in the program. If you do not want your photo taken, please let the Board of Trade staff know. We do use photos for both internal and external publications. Well, thank you to all of you. I know it was really challenging to find parking, and all of our guests have not arrived, but we are going to begin. And I sincerely appreciate you coming on a Friday night. I'm Anita Huberman. I'm President and CEO of the Surrey Board of Trade. And everyone, let's give a warm Surrey welcome to the High Commissioner of India to Canada, Mr. Sanjay Kumar Verma. I'd like to begin by acknowledging that we are on the traditional territory of our Coast Salish peoples, specifically the Kwantlen, Katzie, Coquitlam, Kaikut, Semiahmoo, Tawasin, First Nations, our Inuit, and our Métis peoples. They have a profound connection to the land and water that surrounds our great city of Surrey. Tonight's event would not be possible without sponsorship support. Thank you to our community sponsor, Insignia College. You have to be really excited about our sponsors. Our ongoing progress partners, the law firm of Faskin, the Chambers of Commerce Group Insurance Plan, represented by SNF Benefits and Western Community College. I would also like to welcome our City of Surrey councillors, Pardeep Kuner, Rob Stutt, and the Consul General of India, based in Vancouver, Mr. Manish. Everyone, the Surrey Board of Trade, we are a not-for-profit, independent business organization. We're one of the top 5 largest chambers of commerce boards of trades in the country. There are 430 of us, and our whole mandate is to support business and bring business into the city. Surrey is going to be the largest city in British Columbia by 2029. We're going to have over 1 million people, they are saying right now, by 2042. In our city, 30% of our population is of South Asian origin. We have 120 different languages that are spoken in our city. And I also wanted to say that we are making Surrey a tech destination, bridging ourselves all the way from California to Surrey to Vancouver. And I was at the G20 summit last year, the business portion, the B20, in New Delhi. And I have to say that the whole world was excited about doing business with India. The whole world was in New Delhi, exploring partnerships and opportunities. And today's Surrey Board of Trade event and our Surrey International Trade Center, we are still focused on trade opportunities with India. There's a lot going on in this world, but we have to move forward and chart that path forward because we have so many businesses in Surrey that are still engaging in trade with India. We have family ties with India. And the other piece of the equation is we have the largest number of manufacturers within British Columbia, right here in Surrey. 1/3 of our population is under the age of 19. We have 1/3 of our land base, which is agricultural. Our universities and our private colleges are driving private sector investment and partnerships to really create those tech businesses, the clean technology businesses. We're making Surrey a hydrogen industry destination. And so it is now my pleasure, everyone, to introduce your keynote speaker for this evening. He was an officer of the Indian Foreign Service. Prior to his current role, he worked at the Consulate General of India in Hong Kong and the Embassy of India in China, Vietnam, and Turkey, before serving as the Consul General of India in Milan, Italy. He has served as the Indian ambassador to Japan and the Republic of Sudan. After his Sudan tenure, he served as Joint Secretary for Global Estate Management and Administration Secretary in New Delhi, where he was also in charge of the Cyber Diplomacy Division. He graduated from Patna University and continued his studies at the India Institute of Technology, pursuing a postgraduate master's in physics. Everyone, please help me welcome the amazing, His Excellency, Sanjay Kumar Verma.
Thank you very much for a kind introduction. Friends, I would wish to extend my heartfelt thanks to all of you, despite the inclement weather that's there. And also, today being Friday evening, you must have had some other plans. Some of you would have needed to postpone them to just come here. I'll try to make it worth your while. When we look at the trade, so first thing, what I would see is what are the traditional commodities being traded between our two countries. And if Surrey would have interest in those commodities, then they are already available. And therefore, it is easier to plug in. If I look at the exports, for example, from Canada as the national export to India, the largest export happens to be coking coal or metallurgical coal. Larger part of it goes from British Columbia. It is about $1 billion US of export. Then the second largest is lentils, which largely come from Alberta and Saskatchewan. But I understand that they are loaded on ships from British Columbia. And they go from here to India. Third largest product which goes from here to India is potash chloride, which is, Canada is the largest source of potash in the world, and we use it for the fertilizer industry in India. So these are the three largest ones. The total trade volume between our two countries, import-export together, is close to about 12 billion Canadian dollars. More or less balanced trade, I would say. And the service sector trade. So trade in goods is about 12 billion Canadian dollars. Trade in services are about $500 million more than the trade in goods. So if you put both of them together, you are looking at close to about 24.5 billion Canadian dollars of bilateral trade between India and Canada. Another piece which is also important to understand from the economic perspective is the investment itself. So we have two kinds of investment channels. One happens to be the foreign direct investment, which goes into manufacturing sector largely. And the volume of that between our two countries is close to about $8 billion, Canadian again. Out of which we have close to about $5 billion invested in Canada, $3 billion from Canada to India in the manufacturing sector. But the larger part comes from the portfolio investment. And the combined volume of investment from Canada to India, particularly by the pension funds, all Maple 8 are invested in India, by the pension fund is close to 73 billion Canadian dollars. And these have been going into largely infrastructure sector, but most recently they are also going into innovation. You mentioned about it, science and technology, startups in India. And these investments are doing well for them. Other than the pension funds, Fairfax and Brookfield, they are two larger investors in India, and they are largely in the long-term infrastructure projects. So these are the traditional areas which are already working well for both of us. And if anyone is interested in these areas, I could be quizzed on them, and then I'll try to respond to your queries. I haven't seen any study so far which would tell me, and probably I missed it out, which will tell me as to what is there between Surrey and India which could be traded. Unfortunately, I don't even know the current strengths and complementarity between Surrey and India to advise anyone as to which commodity or item to look at. Let's look at the technology. Now, that is something which would be a great thing to trade. So technology trade, technology transfer, technology development, co-creation, and finally moving into co-production. So if we look at that, let's divide it into two larger verticals, digital and non-digital. So if you look at digital, it's easy to start because you can still be physically far and start doing collaborations on the digital platform. India has world's largest digital public interface, infrastructure, and that could easily be plugged in. In fintech, we are fairly good. In artificial intelligence, we are making strides. In cybersecurity, we are doing quite okay from the innovation point of view. The world's largest database, which is known as Aadhaar database, has never been breached due to software failures, and that is secured by software, hardware combined, air gapping, and etc. So we have cybersecurity for critical infrastructure, but Canada is innovating in all these sectors. And therefore, there is a possibility of putting both of us together to look for another product which could be applicable to both our markets, but also to third countries. So there is an opportunity lying there in the digital domain, which we can try to look at. It also includes something which is very important to both India and Canada, is smart health. Smart health sector is doing well. It's also a part of one of our national missions. What we do in India is that if we declare something as national mission, then a lot more resources are available to go for it and try to develop it up to the commercial level. So one of the largest ones happens to be energy. You mentioned hydrogen. So hydrogen is one of our national missions, and our ambition is to reach annual production of green hydrogen up to 5 million metric ton per year by 2030, for which we'll need about 126 gigawatt of renewable energy. Largely it will come, in case of India, from solar and wind in that order. We already have installed capacity for solar about 73 gigawatts and for wind about 44 gigawatts. So they are already reaching there somewhere, and therefore we are quite committed to take it further ahead and have 500 gigawatts of energy, renewable energy in India by 2030, out of which 126 gigawatt will go for production of 5 million metric ton of green hydrogen. The gap which is there and which we see a lot of innovation happening in Canada on that area is the electrolyzer. So we are using conventional electrolyzer at the moment, but I believe APM electrolyzers are being developed in Canada, in this geography actually. And so electrolyzers could be a good product to look at for initially for trading, but then going on to manufacturing in India. It's largely a membrane, which is the most important part of it. So we can go there, and then you have a ready-made collaboration available for you. And since Government of India has put in on renewable energy sector close to about $2 billion US for research and development, rest all will be PPP or coming from the private players. So that is very much there, the government's money put aside for this. And we would very much welcome if anyone is interested in looking at energy and particularly the hydrogen, which is again a national mission for us. Clean tech is becoming more and more important. To give an example, we do import a lot of metallurgy coal from Canada, and last year I saw a dip of about 17%. It's about $1 billion worth. So I started thinking, why this dip? And the thing which was told to me that we are mixing ammonia with metallurgy coal in order to reduce emission, of course, so clean tech, but also able to get better calorific value for our steel industry. Currently, we are mixing 20% of ammonia, but the pilot project that we are leading and has been successful at the pilot level is 40% ammonia. So coking coal export from here in terms of its value would go down. But then another thing which will pick up is the clean tech. So clean tech is something which is being researched quite a bit here. So that is another sector we can look at for possible collaborations. In the innovation sector, for us, most of the innovations are taking place in the startup segment, the startup ecosystem. And as we speak today, we have 122,000 startups in India. Out of 122,000, about 80,000 are tech startups, other are aggregators, marketplace, etc., crawlers. But these 80,000 are tech, and they're core tech. They are doing quite well. Out of 122,000 startups, we have close to about 114 as unicorns, with their combined value as $354 billion US. So those who want to go for the maturest startup, that possibility is there. Those who want to go at the inception level, those startups are also available. So startup segment for innovation is another place one can look at for getting into medium to long-term collaboration for mutual benefit and profit. The universities, because I found that we have friends from education sector as well. So universities are doing largely fundamental research, but researchers' application to convert them into commercial products or commercial services are largely being done by these startups. A little while ago, I was talking about the energy. So generation of energy is one part, but then you have to transport it and store it. So on transportation and storage as well, and I find that there is someone from logistics field as well here in this room. So on the transportation as well as storage, a lot of new technologies are being developed and a lot of new logistics are being developed. And India being a country where the sun rays are quite intense, so the technology will be slightly different from what could be used in Canada. But nevertheless, the principle remains the same. How do you keep it at a lower temperature? Some of them have gone from not storing hydrogen, but storing ammonia, storing any other way of chemicals coming out of combination with hydrogen. So that's also happening. So in the transportation and the storage, new techs are coming up. And since Surrey will be a hydrogen hub, it will be a good idea to look at beyond production as well. And India does provide both opportunities, tech collaboration as well as market. For 5 million metric ton of hydrogen, we will be the largest exporter of green hydrogen in the world. So that is another opportunity which awaits. We are already signing agreements, and I believe the largest agreement will come from Japan. They need a lot of green hydrogen. At the moment, they are looking at carbon sequestration and carbon capture near Australia, but that's becoming quite expensive to maintain and transport. So those are available there. Another thing I was just thinking aloud, I may be absolutely wrong, but customs bonded warehouses. there are so many products going from here, and if I look at the lentils, for an example, lentils go through highs and lows of the season, and it takes about 48 days for lentils which goes out of your ports to reach India from here. By the time it reaches, and if it reaches on the basis of the demand coming out, the demand would have faded away. Other sources would have found. So if we can look at custom warehousing in India, and some of the companies who could be interested from amongst us, they will be able to tie up the fluctuations in the demand and supply, and therefore make profits. So that is another area which I thought I'll just highlight is available. A little bit of background of New India. When I say New India, I'm talking about India which has developed in last 10 to 12 years. And if you look at New India, it is very different from what India used to be. India was known for, without any religious affiliation, Hindu growth, which basically meant that you will grow by 2%, 2.5%, 3% and be happy. So today, on an average, as per the Bretton Woods institution's estimates, till 2030, certainly we are going to go around 7% in our GDP. Though last week, the estimates have come out, and 2023 we were able to grow by 8.4%. And when you are growing at 7% on a base of 4.2 trillion US dollars, then the wealth addition is quite a bit. Today we are $4.2 trillion, and the trend and our estimates and expectations are that by 2026 will be $5 trillion. All these figures are in US dollars. So $5 trillion. As soon as we become $5 trillion, we'll be going from 5th largest economy to the 4th largest economy. Then by 2030, according to 7% growth rate, which has been predicted by IMF and World Bank, we'll be looking at about $10 trillion worth of economy. That will be the time we'll become the 3rd largest in the world. Then by 2047, so those who are of Indian origin or Indian heritage would understand the meaning of 2047. That is 100 years of our independence. So by the time we hit 2047, again, this is not our estimate. These estimates are all coming from Big Five consultants or World Bank and IMF. By 2047, we are looking at an India which will be 30 trillion US dollars economy. And that will be the time, we hope, that we'll be able to enter the League of Developed Nations, which is defined as $15,000 US per capita. Today we are about close to about 2.8K, so 2,800 US dollars per capita. And that ballooning to 15,000 in 21 years, 22 years, would see a lot of growth in all verticals that we can think of. And therefore, it's a place which will remain a country of opportunity for all collaborators, at least till 2047. But it was just last week that Goldman Sachs came out with another estimate. And it said by 2075, India will be only one of the 2 countries in the world having a GDP of 50 trillion US dollars. And third will be, which is the largest economy today, the third will be about $13 trillion less than where India will be. So with that, I'm emboldened to suggest that at least to 2075, we'll continue growing. And we'll continue growing at a good pace to find opportunities for all our collaborators and partners to engage themselves in India. So that is the new India which we are looking at. Now, a contradiction. Contradiction is that we are 5th largest economy at the moment, but we have a per capita income of $2,800 only. That's a contradiction. But that helps us very well. Government is keen to create infrastructure because that is the key driver for future development and growth. So The larger part of what we are earning from our own activities, domestically or globally, are now a proportion to development of infrastructure for future. And at the same time, a country having a low per capita income is also able to give you skilled labor at a lesser cost. So it is working well for both infrastructure development as well as the manufacturing sector or service sector. And that has allowed many of the companies across the globe to set up their global development centers in India. Many companies in Canada have done the same. They have set up, OpenText is the largest, which has got, I believe, 40,000 Indian engineers working for them in India. And so they have gone there in order to have a better efficiency on their entire system. And these are all global development centers. So IT was being talked about. I believe there is someone in the room who is working on executive training for AI and cybersecurity. So in the digital domain, we have examples to follow. Microsoft, outside the US, their largest development center happens to be in India, Hyderabad. If you look at IBM, same story in Bangalore. So all these majors in the world have been able to find talents at comparatively more effective cost in India to work with them. And finally, most of these skilled people speak Indian English. May not be as good as the Canadian English, but they do. They do dabble into it and they try to understand what others are saying. So in general, before I stop to take the questions, in general we see opportunities now, which I generally call as a spot value. So we see a spot value today, but we also see a trend value for tomorrow. And if I'm an investor or if I'm a collaborator, I will generally look at long runway rather than just looking at one landing and one taking off. So India is open to business, and we would continue to do hand-holding if anyone requires that. And in order to do that, I have a request to make to the Surrey Board of Trade to take a business delegation to India for them to see themselves how India, those who have gone to India 12 years back, how India has transformed itself, what new opportunities are presented in India. We also have someone in this room who has invested in some Indian ventures, so probably it could be vouched for. And the new opportunities are coming a lot. Today's India is not only looking for finances. Finances are very much available domestically as well. We have crowdsourcing of financing for startups and innovation segment doing very well. But I'm looking for domain experts and domain expertise. And many of you probably would be able to patch up that gap and take our bilateral relations forward. I'll stop here, and if there are queries, I'll be happy to respond to them. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sanjay. And I know you're saying that because our last trade mission to India was in 2011. And it has been a while since we've taken a formal trade mission, that is, to India. And I saw the change when I was there last year. And I saw the significant opportunities that Canada in itself, in addition to Surrey, can have in India.
Thank you.
So everyone, we were going to just engage in a question period between myself and Sanjay. But if you do have a question, I ask you to raise your hand. And if you could state your name and your company name, you'll have to speak a little bit loud. And we're an intimate crowd this evening. We want to ensure you have every opportunity to understand the economic opportunity that exists between Canada and India. But I just wanted to first start off by saying that at the G20 last August, the message was one planet, one family, one future. Can you explain to us what that means?
In India, we have a saying coming from thousands of years back, and it's in Sanskrit, Vasudhaiv Kutumbakam, which basically means the entire earth is a family. And it all starts from there. So we feel that the entire planet is a family. And there, when we say planet, we take us as human beings, but we also take animals and the flora. So all these are one family, and therefore we need to protect our family. We need to advance our family for better well-being, taking them forward. So therefore, human is one part. So human health, human economy, human growth, human development. Ecology comes in the same context. Then you have, in the same breath, animal coming there. So that is the concept of one planet. One family, that there will be quibbles in the family, and that's fine. But finally, we'll find a way to move ahead for our common good. One future, because if some parts of the world are left behind, then their future is bleaker than other parts of the world. So let's contribute to development of all countries, all groups of people, so that we have a common future brighter than today.
Any questions from the audience, or I'm going to continue? Go ahead.
So my question is on technical side. I'm actually IT alumni, as you know, and also on the PICS board here. But the question is more related to, because you mentioned, and Anita also mentioned Surrey being a hub for hydrogen. There's a question is, what's your personal view on hydrogen technology in automotive versus electrical technology? Because a lot of electrical cars in general are kind of has taken off, and all over the world, the electric cars are being considered as the most green. But I know there's a hydrogen technology in automotive as well. Just want to know your personal opinion, electric versus hydrogen in automotive industry.
I hope Tesla will not blame me for this. Electric cars have its own difficulties, and on the logistics side, storage side as well, the critical minerals which go in it. So one is that if you don't consider ICE, internal combustion engines, put it aside, then what you are looking at is something to generate power, to generate electricity, so that a vehicle can run. Hydrogen does the same thing. So it is combusted in a manner that electricity is produced, which runs different parts of the automobile and take it forward. E-vehicles do the same. So between the two, my preference will be hydrogen. But problem with hydrogen is storage and transportation. So till the time we do not have a more effective technology or process available for transportation and storage of hydrogen, it will always remain an issue. One solution which was found was fuel cells. And BC has one of the largest, one of the best known fuel cell companies in the world. We are buying from there. So Tata is launching bus for Mumbai for public transportation, all fuel cell based. And the fuel cell is coming from Ballard, is it? Ballard. Ballard from here. Once the pilot is over, pilot is I think 30 buses, then you are looking at scaling it up to 2,000, 3,000 buses in Mumbai. It's a large city. So that is already there. It's a fuel cell. What other than fuel cell we can do with hydrogen is what is being now on the tech platform, and people are innovating on that. Even on EV, lithium we know, and Canada is a big source. But slowly we are looking at people moving to metal anode. People are moving to sodium. And all these researchers are doing well in India as well. If we are able to reach same energy density as lithium with any other possible material, then we are looking at a brighter future. Sodium is available in bulk all over the world, so no country will be fighting over it. Cost is about 1/3 of lithium in purified version, which can be used for storage. I believe the first sodium batteries are about to come out now. And by 2027, we expect that there will be commercial launch of sodium batteries all over the world as well. So both have got their own positives and negatives. The world has got so many passenger automobiles that there will not be a unique solution. There will be a combination of solutions. So for foreseeable future, I see both electric vehicle and hydrogen-powered vehicle to continue together globally. For hydrogen, the most appropriate sector, again, this is coming from me, and I'm not an expert like you. For hydrogen, the most effective sectors would be ocean-going vessels, because then the storage becomes easier. It's just one point from where you need to fill in hydrogen to ocean-going vessels. And after that, those long-distance trucks, for an example, which have got fixed terminals where you fill in the hydrogen. If you look at hydrogen having similar logistics as a fossil fuel that we have, the gas and petrol and diesel, it will be quite difficult. They are very cost ineffective. So that will be my thought process on these two technologies.
Sanjay, we have in our Surrey Health and Technology District a significant investment that is coming around wet lab space. And India was a leader in the pandemic with the vaccine that was created, AstraZeneca, and providing that to different parts of the world, really saving economies. But in order to ensure that we're ready for the pandemic of the future, to really ensure that our population is aging, we're building a longevity economy, a care economy, one of the key pillars of Surrey's economic strategy. There's co-location opportunities between India and Canada. There's so much significant innovation in India that could also be partnership, research and development right here in Surrey's Health and Tech District. Do you see an opportunity there?
There's an immense opportunity. A country of 40 million people do have an immense market, and also Canada helps other countries through its own foreign or external aid and assistance system. So certainly there is a huge possibility of synergy. Vaccine development, India has done well. Just for those who don't know, 60% of world's vaccines are produced in India, all kinds put together. So we have been doing quite okay. When RNA-based, mRNA-based vaccines came, at that time we didn't have any mRNA-based vaccines, so we got it licensed from UK, Oxford University, for AstraZeneca. And we produced our own version of AstraZeneca. Most of the vaccines, what happens is that whenever there is a new version, you develop the new vaccine on the basis of what you find as the viruses in your own population. So Indian domestic vaccine production, only for India, would be largely based on what viruses are found in Indians. But then the basic concept of developing vaccine and producing vaccine remains the same. So on the basic manufacturing side, there is a lot of potential to collaborate and combine ourselves. If I look at the cost, so when AstraZeneca came to India, it was offered from UK close to about 30 pounds per vial. We were able to produce it for 300 rupees per vial, which is about 5 Canadian dollars on today's rate. So we were able to send it to 160 countries. Some of them got it as assistance from India. Some others bought it from India, including Canada. The first lot of vaccine in Canada came from India, about half a million doses. So we have the production capacity. We can go along with that. What also happened during the COVID period, that Indian companies from greenfield developed vaccines. And that was a new thing that we see. Otherwise, most of the vaccines were developed by all the global majors, Pfizer or Biocon or whatever we have. So we were able to have 4 indigenously developed vaccines in India. They also did very well. So they they went into the mix, and that mix was used. So we have potential, not only in vaccine, but other sectors of life sciences as well, wherein a lot of collaboration could happen on research, on commercialization of the research, and production.
The other thing I wanted to ask you is we're making Surrey a film destination and of course a Bollywood film destination. There's many producers from India that are actually filming right here in our city. And we have our International South Asian Film Festival that not only draws producers, directors, actors from India, but from all over the world. There is an immense opportunity to do business. My film producer friends are in the back there. Tell us a little bit about what Bollywood is looking for in terms of co-location and global opportunities.
All right. So just a bit of background to understand Bollywood. If I take the entire Indian film production industry, we are talking about 1,400 films produced in a year. So approximately 3 films in a day. So that is the kind of venture you have. Most of the films are for Indian audience in India, but slowly we are seeing a divergence in which Indian film producers are making films for Indians living outside and others. There are 32 million people of Indian origin living outside India, so it's a sizable market. And it started with a film, those who are film buffs, Monsoon Wedding. And then it picked up, and the market is expanding. I have found many of my non-Indian origin friends also enjoying Indian movies which are made for the foreign audience. What they do, most of these producers, what they do is for small budget films, they do shoot and produce it in India. Large budget films, you'll find the crew going abroad and doing some of the shootings there. It could be shot in the Princess Island in Turkey, and it will look like New Zealand. So they are doing all kinds of tricks. When I was posted in Turkey, one such film was done. Name of the film was Guru. I don't know if anyone would recall, which was for Dhirubhai Ambani, his own journey to become world's richest person at one point of time. So they are going out all over. But what they try to do is, they try to see the ecosystem which exists there. They will bring in the actors and actresses, producers, the directors. But if there is an ecosystem wherein they can get the cameraman, they can get the lights person, they can get other logistic support, that is the destination they would like to see. Sorry if I'm not aware, and I'm sorry if I say something wrong, but if the logistics are there, there is a huge potential for marketing Surrey as a destination for shooting Indian films when the producer is going outside India. So earlier what used to happen that Indian producers would go to Switzerland and France. These are the 2 most desired destinations for them to go and shoot. But slowly it is diversifying. And Surrey is a beautiful place. It has sea, it has sand, it has beautiful nature, it has mountains. Today I was there. So there is a possibility if logistics supports are available, one can market Surrey as the destination for Indian films.
One of the things that our environment team is looking at, and we actually issued a policy paper on it, are industry opportunities related to the blue economy. Marine, water, ocean, so undiscovered. What is India doing in that regard?
So India has a large coastal area because we are kind of a triangle jutting out into the two seas. India's journey to blue economy started with the concept of Indo-Pacific. And though our Indo-Pacific concept is dated thousands of years back when we talked of one ocean. But in the recent times, we started close to about 2007-8, around that time. And then we came out with our own views and our own ways to promote blue economy. The first thing we had there, of course, the maritime security, because if it's not secure, you can't develop the economy on the basis of oceans and seas. But now we have moved much ahead. And we have provided safe passage, security to keep the sea lanes open. That is an extremely important part of blue economy. We have gone much beyond India, and today our ships patrol the Horn of Africa, Red Sea, trying to stop the piracy largely. In recent days, we don't go after countries. We don't use our weapon system against countries in that littoral area. But yes, we do support. But blue economy globally is still developing, the concept itself. And there could be many new elements which could be brought in. Mineral resources, fossil fuel, which is going down in its credibility now, fisheries resources. Then you have with sodium battery, if that comes up, then blue economy will add in sodium battery as well. So there are various other aspects which could support blue economy, and we are all for it. Since it is still in the inception phase globally, we could look at collaboration according to our own convenience.
I mentioned earlier in the program that we have the greatest number of manufacturers in a variety of manufacturing spaces within Surrey. And whether it's aerospace, mining, steel manufacturing, you name it, we have it. Forestry, for example. But one of the key things that really intrigued me last year when I was in India was the elevation of the space economy. And so our international and industry team is really exploring opportunities for our local businesses, especially in the manufacturing space, around space. You would think Surrey, why Surrey? It's space. But of course, India went to the moon last year, and that was a momentous occasion for Indians all over the world. Tell us a little bit about that, and also the opportunities for more industry opportunities in the space economy.
Thank you. Thank you for reminding our moon mission. And actually, we were on the moon and Cloud9 emotionally. So we had started moon mission about a decade back, and we were working on that. We attempted the most difficult landing on the moon, which was on the south pole of the moon. It's not an easy task due to the wind and the gravitational force there. We could meet our objective with some variation on landing there. And another difficult part there was that there was 14 days of darkness. So if your batteries are not charged, then you will lose your vessel. We were ready for that as well. So it has worked well. It has proven various technologies, including the technology for making mirrors and pharmaceuticals in low gravity conditions, which has given rise to better mirrors, better pharmaceutical globules, etc. So that has done well for us. And at the same time, it also did a bit of geophysical analysis. Fortunately, there was an moonquake. There was a moonquake on the moon on that day. And we could also gather some additional information on what is the earthquake equivalent on the moon. So various aspects were looked into, and we are developing technologies for that. Most of the space technology in India earlier was developed by Indian Space Research Organization known as ISRO. It's a government body with best of the scientists in the world that we have. But now there is an increased impetus on startups coming up the steam and doing the research and development in the space segment. So again, going back to the same pitch that I made earlier, that startup ecosystems can collaborate with each other through a process of hackathon, through a process of national selection. I leave it to the partners, how do they want to do it. And then we can take it forward between the two of them to see new space products. India is also doing Sun mission, known as Aditya L1. So last mission, we had 60% of the components from India, but 40% from abroad. So if one of those components are being manufactured in Surrey, why not? We'll be glad to introduce that company to ISRO or any other partner who is willing to do that. We are also becoming quite cost effective, rather we are the most cost effective in rocket launches. And we do multiple launches at the same time. One of the launches in PSLV, which is a launch vehicle, polar satellite launch vehicle, we launched 108 satellites together in one launch vehicle, which brought down the cost of launching a satellite to a few $1,000s. So all these things are going on, and if there are any value addition coming from Surrey, we'll certainly grab it. On aviation, aerospace industry. So there again, we have a lot of collaboration with Canada, but largely Montreal cluster, Bombardier and some of the Airbus components being manufactured there. But if Surrey is able to do that, why not? We'll be ready for that. Thank you.
Go ahead, Dave.
My name is Dave here. Thank you very much for coming over here and doing a very good job of explaining where India is heading and how we can all work together to succeed. My question is about solar energy. And earlier at the SFU Burnaby campus, you were talking about it. Where's India in research for solar energy? Where are they heading? Is there also potential for homes and business in Surrey and British Columbia and Canada, where some areas have more sun than other ones? Can they use solar energy? Are the panels also changing, even though it's not full sun, they can still in daytime create a solar energy for the households or electricity? Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Solar energy, we think that we are doing quite okay. We have 73 gigawatts of installed capacity, and on a given day it produces different volume of energy because of cloudy days or non-cloudy days or whatever they are. We have independently developed, similar technology has been developed by many countries, but independently we have developed a technology in which both sides of the panel can generate electricity. Then we are removing the unpredictability of the panel being in the shadow and therefore not producing enough energy. That has increased the efficiency of solar electricity production by almost 4%, which is a huge number when you consider that. The solar energy program in India is going on well. We started with something known as RPO, which is renewable energy, some offset. I'm just forgetting the expansion of the acronym. And where the government auctioned the energy production to private players on a PPP, and the government paid a part of the production cost. So that time we increased quite a bit. But then we decided that now is the time, the market is mature, all the manufacturers are mature enough. So we started withdrawing our subsidy. And today, more or less the subsidies are gone. Still, it's growing. We have been able to produce electricity from solar sources almost at the same cost per unit as conventional sources. So at the moment, we are producing at about cost of production, about 2.41 rupees, divide by 60 to get into Canadian currency per unit by solar, and about 2.1 per unit by conventional sources. So we have been able to reach close to that. When that break even takes place, then of course no no private player would like to go for setting up a conventional source energy plant. They'll go for solar panels. So solar we are doing well. Where we would like to do better is the solar thin films. And solar thin films, in fact, one of the professors at, if I'm not mistaken, either University of Toronto or University of Waterloo, he had written a paper long back, more than a decade back. So if that becomes possible, it's a printed circuit board on a plastic film. That's it. So you don't need any silicon to go into it. And through those printed circuits, then you paste it anywhere you want. It just has to be transparent so that the rays can go in. So you have these glass windows, you paste on that, you produce electricity. So these technologies we can certainly look forward to work with. We are the 4th largest in solar installed capacity. By 2030, we'll become the 2nd largest. So the trend is also there to work on that. Now, coming to Surrey, depends on how much solar energy is available from sunrise to sunset. What is the peak demand? What is the base level available? So all these calculations will have to go into. We are exporting solar panels, though we are still not sufficient in the demand of solar panels in India. But some of the companies are exporting solar panels to outside world. And I believe one of the Canadian external project is using Indian solar panel in somewhere in Caribbean country to produce solar energy. With solar energy, we have also developed the process for smart metering, getting it into the national grid. And in the recent announcement in the budget on the 1st of February, a few days back, we have also targeted to provide 300 units of free electricity to each household if they are able to allow to put solar panels on their houses. So that will be a game changer because 1.4 billion people say 4 persons a family or a household. And so it comes to say 35 million people. There's 35 million households. Say if 10 million houses are able to pick it up, we'll have enough solar energy produced with this incentive given to the people. And since they will be producing it, they will also own the production. So I think it will be a good social change that we can see in India. So there are policy interventions, there are technology interventions, implementation side we are doing well. So there is a huge possibility of collaboration in the field of solar energy. Thank you.
We have 5 more minutes. Any other questions from the audience? Please, go ahead.
Hi, my name is Manik. I am heading Sierra Global. We are a freight forwarding company based in Surrey, and we have been in business for the last 2 years here in Vancouver. We have had a lot of success with a lot of Canadian importers who are doing business in the field of pharmaceuticals, food, processed food, as well as apparel, fashion, leather and regular apparel as well. We have had a lot of success in getting this business and explaining the logistical challenges to the importers thanks to Surrey Board of Trade. I was wondering if the Indian consulate has a business desk where we can with who we can communicate with, where we can help Canadian exporters as well as Canadian importers explain the logistical challenges, or help them, or even give them sources to increase the trade between India and Canada, which right now stands, if I'm not wrong, close to $4 billion. So just wanted to understand that.
Yeah, thank you. So first on the data, the bilateral trade volume is close to 12 billion Canadian dollars.
Oh, okay.
But coming back to the logistics part, in India, the cost of logistics is very high because of inefficiencies. But the infrastructure development will bring it down. There was a time when we were having about 17% of the total cost of product due to logistics. That is coming down. We have a target of bringing it down to 6%. I hope it happens sooner than later. But yes, there are logistics bottlenecks in India which needs to be resolved, and we are very much aware. We are trying to work towards it. Cold chain is another issue in India, and a country which gets intense sun heat. Cold chain is very important part. But pharma industry, the cold chain exists, and it is working well. In fact, our largest export to Canada happens to be medicines. And that all comes through the same cold chain. Second largest export is smartphones. Again, that comes under controlled environment because that comes with the battery inserted. Third largest export is frozen shrimp.
Yes.
So again, so these logistics supports are there, but we still need to move up the ladder. We are trying to do that. So any support in that, of course, will be helpful. Your question on if there is anyone who can do the requisite hand-holding, yes, there is. There are commercial offices stationed at the Consulate General of India in Vancouver, in Toronto, and Ottawa, all three offices. And these commercial offices have been mandated to help out. If they do not have solution, they will try to get the solutions from India and introduce to you.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
Any other questions? Any concluding remarks, Sanjay?
One, as a conclusion, once again, request to take a delegation trade mission soon so that they are able to do their due diligence study and take it forward. For example, within last 3 weeks, we had Victoria Trade Minister going, Mr. Victor Fedeli, and came back with quite some good results. Then we had Premier of Saskatchewan, and all these happened in last 3 weeks. Premier of Saskatchewan there, who is emboldened by 22% increase in the lentils export to India. So he also did a few business roundtables. I believe they were quite effective. We also have former Prime Minister Stephen Harper there, who is now completely submerged in the economic side. So he also did some advocacy on the economic side. So my view is that more the conversation, better it is. Because all conversations may not result into a conclusion to the benefit of both. So therefore, the larger number of conversations, more possibility of succeeding. And therefore, once again, I will urge that SBOT considers taking a delegation to India. It has been too long. And we are waiting with hell breath to get you there. When you are planning that, then we will do the requisite consultation with you. Depending on the sectors, we'll suggest which cities or areas to go, whom to talk to. We will also try to get you in touch with one of the key business chambers in India, who will be able to then do the requisite handholding. I'm sure the Canadian High Commission will do all that is required to be done as well. But count us in as well. We are there to hold hands. So that is on the delegation. On the tech side, please have a look at it, because I personally feel the maximum value addition in the world today is on the innovation and tech. So if we are able to find ways to collaborate, areas to collaborate, it'll send a good signal, not only for your businesses, but also other businesses in Canada. On energy and clean tech, we are open. Whatever collaboration could be done, let's look at that. Clean tech, the same thing. Hydrogen, we are maturing fast as a system because we have pilot projects done, we are implementing them. Canada has greater strengths in innovation, particularly on the fuel cell side. We would love to collaborate on that. So there are various areas which we should look at, and please count us in. We have Consul General in Vancouver, who himself is quite a good trade negotiator and trade facilitator. So please utilize his offices, and let's increase our wealth. Thank you very much.
A round of applause, please, for Mr. Sanjay Kumar Verma. Thank you so much. Mr. Verma will stay for a bit to respond to any comments or questions you want to have with him on a one-on-one basis. And I really so appreciate, on behalf of all of us at the Surrey Board of Trade, for you coming on a Friday night and exploring the collaborative opportunities between India and Canada. And as I always say, India is not a market that you can ignore. You cannot ignore it. And we need to chart a path forward. So everyone, thank you so much for being here. Thank you to our sponsor, Insignia College. And have an amazing weekend and make it a great business week next week. Thank you so much.